Han Huang frowned and revealed an impatient expression. Then I won't care about you. You deserve to die if that happens. I won't be able to take care of you once I start a war with my old enemy. Han Huang snorted and focused on the materials in front of him. As he kept casting spells, the materials began to fuse. He used his dermic powers as a furnace to refine something. The woman in the immortal dress did not say anything else. Instead, she flew to the meteor beside her and meditated. Peace returned to the void. Han Huang was focused on what he was doing, and the woman in the immortal dress looked at him from time to time, her heart fluttering. Time passed quickly. 1,000,000 years passed. The two of them sat here. Han Huang no longer refined Dharma treasures and just meditated. Until one day, he suddenly opened his eyes, a ferocious glint in them. He stood up and revealed a wild and sinister smile. He muttered, "You're finally here. You've really made me wait." The woman in the immortal dress in the distance opened her eyes and stood up. She asked nervously, "You're leaving?" Han Huang glanced at her and said, "That's right. I want to fight an extremely strong opponent. Do you want to die? I'll fulfill your wish. At that time, the aftermath of the battle will turn you into ashes." The woman in the immortal dress bit her lips and did not leave with Han Huang in the end. She looked at Han Huang's departing figure with a faint expression and sighed slightly. "Why do you dislike me so much? Are you really afraid that I'll burden you?" Hanju opened his eyes and a sharp look flashed across his eyes. The first thing Hanju did after waking up was to check his emails. "Your son Han Huang was cursed by your good friend Huang Zuantian, X90237. Your son Han Huang was attacked by a chaotic cultivator, X01033. Your son Han Tuo was attacked by a mysterious mighty figure and was severely injured. Your son Han Huang was attacked by an inauspicious evil, X7633110. Your descendant Han Yu was attacked by a chaotic cultivator, X643900418. Your descendant Han Yu was attacked by an inauspicious evil, X800668. Your good friend Huang Zuantian suffered a backlash from a mysterious mighty figure. His soul was damaged. Your good friend Zhao Shuangchuan was attacked by cultivators from Shitian, X20986872. So many numbers. Was the great Tao immeasurable calamity. Here, Hanju didn't sense Han Huang using the ultimate origin power, so he didn't end his cultivation early. He didn't expect him to be surrounded. He deduced that Huang Zuantian had yet to appear. Now, Han Huang was surrounded by the entire chaos. In order to help him, Han Yi had also followed him. Primordial Fiend Celestial and the Great Tao Immeasurable Calamity's protagonist. All living beings, he appeared very stable. By him, his battle achievements spread widely in the chaos, transcendent, consciousnessless, and Shitian, shocking everyone. All living beings saw the birth of an invincible person. He was soaring and unstoppable. Hanju was relieved. He had not nurtured this kid in vain. He had finally killed his way out. The primordial fiend celestial and the creation heavens chosen. At the same realm, Hanju had to make sure Han Huang swept through all enemies. Progenitor, you're awake. Ancestor Han. Huang is surrounded. Do you know? Shawnee asked carefully. He was also a great Tao sage and could naturally sense and see the chaotic battle. All these years, he had not cultivated much and had only been watching the show. He wasn't the only one. Xing Hongshan and the other women were also watching the battle. They were all worried for Han Huang, but they were all confident in him now. Han Huang was too strong, as expected of the primordial fiend celestial. Hanju smiled. Of course, I know. With that, he vanished and arrived at Xing Hongshuan's Taoist temple. At this moment, King Luaniar, Xian Qingjun, Fairy Xishan, and Chang Yue are gathered here. A screen of light floated in front of them, revealing Han Huang's figure. The vast void was filled with blood, qi, and corpses. Countless mighty figures rushed out from every corner of the chaos and attacked Han Huang. One after another, they were like moths rushing to the flame. Han Huang was like the giant god of creation as he revealed the true body of the primordial fiend celestial. His body was billions of feet tall and his white hair fluttered wantonly. The muscles on his upper body were terrifying and the armor and pants of his lower body were already dyed blood red. His eyes emitted a blood light that swept through the chaos. Countless purple dragons formed by the primordial purple chi coiled around his body and resisted countless powerful enemies for him. This scene was really as if Panga was alive, or even worse. Behind Han Huang, Han Yi held the world, piercing divine origin bow and shot 10,000 arrows in one star. He was also small. Han Zhu appeared beside Xing Hongshen, scaring the 5 women. Asked curiously. Han Zhu smiled. Of course, I'm here to see our son. Chang Yue said excitedly, Junior Han, Huang is too strong. There's also Han Yi. I didn't like him when I saw him in the chaotic assembly. He's too arrogant. I didn't expect him to dare to help Huang. The cultivator who attacked Han Huang was at Huang. The closest to Han Huang were Great Tao Supremes. Many existences used the power of the Great Tao world to resist, but they were still suppressed by Han Huang. That. Han Zhu smiled and said, of course. Do you see his bow? That's a supreme treasure surpasses a chaotic supreme treasure. I gave it to him. I've never misjudged someone. The ultimate killing star fought with the primordial fiend celestial. It was a beautiful scene. At least to Han Zhu, it was quite beautiful. Xian Qingjun asked, what level is above the chaotic supreme treasure? An ultimate Tao treasure contains unimaginable danger. Han Ye's Bao can destroy a great Tao world. As long as he's strong enough, he can even shatter the chaos with an arrow. Han Zhu's reply caused the women to gasp. Such a powerful supreme treasure? Qing Waner sighed. He's indeed worthy. The descendants of our Han family might not be inferior to your children. Xing Hongshen, Fairy, Xishan, Xian Qingjun, and Chang Yue nodded. Han Yi had proved himself in this battle. The name of the killing god had already spread in the chaos. They had already fought for more than even be sensed by the universe of stars. It was unsettling and terrifying. Husband, can Huang and Ye win? Xing Hongshan asked nervously. Although the two of them were very strong, more and more enemies came to participate in the battle, including cultivators from other Great Tao worlds. At this rate, the situation was not optimistic. No matter how strong he was, could he fight forever? Han Zhu replied, it depends on their willpower. Han Zhu sighed when he saw this. The chaos had developed too quickly in the past 100 million years. It was unknown if it was because the 9th chaos was about to break through or because of his influence. Be it the Great Tao Supremes or the Great Tao Sages, the number far exceeded the past eras. Thinking about it carefully, it was all thanks to the ultimate god of punishment. He protected the geniuses extremely well and declared that he wouldn't kill them. In ordinary battles, Even if they died, the mighty figures had ways to protect themselves and revive. They were afraid that their mortal enemies would not let them go. The ultimate god of punishment's rule made it so that even if the geniuses died, they could revive. The survival rate of geniuses was high. With time, the number of great Tao sages and great Tao supremes would naturally increase. In the past, the great Tao sages and the great Tao supremes were not top-notch talents. They were all people with brilliant methods and great opportunities. It was just like obtaining the door of the great Tao that the great Tao sages needed to cross. In the past, mighty figures deliberately obstructed Divine Lord Peacock. At that time, no matter how talented he was, it would be impossible for him to break through if he was troubled by a mighty figure. Li Daokong is really powerful now. I used to think that he was very strong. Now, he has finally grown up. Unfortunately, he no longer belongs to the hidden sect. Xing Hongshen sighed. Chang Yuer smiled. Not necessarily. I heard that Li Daokong has killed countless living beings, but he has never touched any hidden sect disciple. The entire life faction is like this. It must be his credit. The women looked at Hanju. Hanju smiled and said, perhaps he still has the hidden sect in his heart, but only he knows. Seeing his tone and smile, the women guessed that he was still related to Li Daokong, but they did not say it clearly. They were no longer the mortals of the past. The higher their cultivation level, the more afraid they were. Sometimes, as long as they spoke, even if there was no one nearby, they could be deduced. Li Daokong was not Han Huang's match. Later, he used the Sword World, a great Tao world formed by countless forms of swords. The sword might was vast and mighty, causing the swords of the chaotic heavens to tremble as if they were worshipping the sword ancestor. Li Daokong, your sword is stronger than Laozi's. Han Huang laughed. He was extremely happy to see Li Daokong. He had received Li Daokong's help several times when he wandered the chaos and had a favorable impression of him. Li Daokong stepped on the sword light that was 100 million kilometers long and looked at the insufferably arrogant primordial fiend celestial figure. He sighed and smiled. Han Huang, you're really strong. As expected of the son of that existence. But in today's battle, the Calamity Life controllers and I won't stop. I understand. Come, I'm willing to accept the challenge of all living beings. I won't be everything. Han Huang's laughter was extremely impudent. It echoed in the chaotic void and spread extremely far. The spectators in the distance were all convinced. Indeed, if he's not the primordial fiend celestial, who in the chaos, transcendent, consciousnessless, and Shi Tian great Tao world is worthy? Although this fellow is arrogant, he's indeed extremely powerful. Is there really a huge difference between the primordial fiend celestial and all living beings? It's fine if it's Han Huang. Why do I feel that? Han Huang's son? Junior, you're wrong. Although they share the same origin, they're not father and son. Han Huang is not the founder of the Han family. No matter how strong Han Huang is, he's not the illusory Divine Might Heavenly Sage's match. Han Huang is the Divine Might Heavenly Sage's son. How can the Divine Might Heavenly Sage stop him from attaining the Tao? Besides, it's impossible for the Divine Might Heavenly Sage to care about the primordial fiend celestial's fake reputation. All living beings were discussing. At this point, Han Huang's believers and were extremely fanatical. Hanju left after watching for a while, leaving the women to continue watching the battle excitedly. After returning to the Taoist temple, Shawnee was also watching the battle with relish. They were just short of holding a handful of melon. Seeds. Shawnee wanted to bow upon seeing him, but Hanju waved his hand and stopped him. Continue watching. With that, Hanju sat on the 36th grade reincarnation world destruction Black Lotus. He closed his eyes and thought. How should he use the creation heavens? Forget it. I'll wait for another 10 million years. At that time, I'll draw 9 consecutive times. 9 is the limit of the Great Tao. It will definitely bring good luck. Hanju thought silently. At that time, the 9 creation heavens chosen could form a team, just like the 5 great divine punishers in the past. They could be nurtured to represent the 9 great sages of the divine might heavenly. Sage. Hanju looked forward to it. It was time to add some fun to his boring cultivation years. Hanju was a little bored after Hanling left. As for Shawnee, he was not interesting enough. This fellow was too nervous and usually liked to torture noobs in the simulation trial, unlike Hanling who dared to continue challenging him even if she was defeated. Heavenly Court, Numinous Palace. The evil Heavenly Emperor smiled as he sat on the Emperor's throne and listened to the immortals in the hall discuss Han Huang's reputation. The ultimate origin fiend Celestial was also in the hall. He had been sent here by Hanling for a long time. With his potential, he quickly established himself and was now the Heavenly Court's #1 prodigy. Hearing Han Huang's legend, the ultimate origin fiend Celestial couldn't help but recall the past. He didn't know how far he was from Han Huang now. An old immortal stood up and interrupted the discussion. He cupped his hands at the evil Heavenly Emperor and said, "Your Majesty, this is an era of great conflict. If the Heavenly Court continues to nurture an area without fighting, it will definitely fall behind. The legends of the Endless Era have already spread. When the Endless Era arrives, the chaos will split into countless pieces. At that time, every piece will be independent. Unlike now, living beings from various domains can still interact and trade. At that time, different factions will have different providence. It's impossible for ordinary living beings to enter rashly." The evil Heavenly Emperor nodded. "You're right, but how should the Heavenly Court fight? Should we fight for the primordial fiend celestial position or territory?" The old immortal replied, "For territory. No one in the Heavenly Court is qualified to fight for the primordial fiend celestial position, and Han Huang is on good terms with the Heavenly Court. There's no need to dispel the friendship. Fighting for territory is the most beneficial. It's best if it's a nearby domain. This way, when the chaos shatters, the various places in the Heavenly Court will be close and easier to control." The ultimate origin fiend Celestial immediately said unhappily, "Who said that the Heavenly Court can't fight for the primordial fiend Celestial position?" The old immortal glanced at him and chuckled. He did not argue, which infuriated the ultimate origin fiend Celestial even more. The evil Heavenly Emperor scanned the expressions of the immortals and said slowly, "I'm related to the transcendent great world. I can enter it. At that time, I can obtain a domain 100 times larger than now. What do you think?" The immortals were in an uproar. Transcendent? Wasn't that betraying the chaos? Yes, we will definitely be surrounded once it's announced. It's too far from the Heavenly Court. Your Majesty, you have to consider carefully. Yes, once we go to the transcendent great world, the relationships the Heavenly Court established in the chaos will all be gone. The immortals were excited and fought to dissuade the evil Heavenly Emperor. The evil Heavenly Emperor said, "The existence I know can directly move the Heavenly Court into transcendence. As for relationships, with that existence, it surpasses all the current chaotic relationships of the Heavenly Court." Black Heaven General asked, What about the divine might heavenly sage? Although the divine might heavenly sage had not moved for more than 100 million years to the existences of the older generation, this was a name that represented the supreme. His strength back then was even more exaggerated than the current Han Huang. The ultimate origin Fian Celestial's heart was filled with yearning when he heard the divine might heavenly sage's name. He had never seen that supreme existence but was already fascinated by him. The evil heavenly emperor said, "The divine might heavenly sage doesn't belong to the chaos. He protected the heavenly Tao. Now, he doesn't even appear in the heavenly Tao. Don't you know what this means? Even people as strong as Tao Sovereign, Li Daokong, and Laozi have already established a great Tao world. Do you think the divine might heavenly sage didn't?" The immortals fell silent. The secret of the great Tao world had spread in the chaos ever since the end of the first chaotic assembly. The fact that the chaos was the greatest great Tao world was no longer a secret. This caused all living beings to guess. Could it be that the chaos was created by a transcendent existence? The old immortal who had spoken earlier said, "In that case, we'll listen to your majesty's arrangements. The entire heavenly court will follow your majesty to the death." With someone taking the lead, the others naturally followed. The immortals were afraid that if they were slow, they would anger the evil heavenly emperor. "Then we'll go to the transcendent world." "Perfect. Transcending the savage land requires us immortals to lead." "That's right, your majesty is right. In the future, it will be an endless era. We should unify the transcendent world once we descend upon it, right?" The immortals turned extremely quickly and began to discuss how to dominate the transcendent world. The ultimate origin Fiend Celestial secretly despised them. How hypocritical. He looked at the evil heavenly emperor and wanted to say something, but he was afraid that it was not suitable. What would happen to him if the heavenly court went to the transcendent world? He was only staying in the heavenly court for the time being. He had always thought of himself as from the creation emperor court. The evil heavenly emperor saw through his thoughts and said, "The creation emperor court, our ally, will also go to the transcendent world and support the heavenly court." The gods were in an uproar and became even more excited. The creation emperor court could be said to be the greatest force in the past tens of millions of years. Han Yu was still fighting with Han Huang. His strength shocked the entire chaos. The ultimate origin Fiend Celestial was stunned and was even more surprised than them. Why would the emperor join the transcendent world? Shouldn't she create her own great Tao world? Time passed quickly for Hanju. "You have obtained a creation heavens chosen attempt." He first looked at the chaos. The battle had already ended. With Han Huang and Han Ye's victory, no matter how many factions participated, they were not Han Huang's match. However, although this battle was over, the various factions were still brewing a greater attack. Hanju could deduce that the four great Tao worlds had begun to connect and wanted to join forces to deal with Han Huang. As for primordial origin and Huang Zuantian, they never appeared, making him feel regretful. Hanju thought for a moment and still sent Huang Zuantian a dream. Although he couldn't deduce where Huang Zuantian was, he could still visit him in his dreams. In the dream, Huang Zuantian looked extremely haggard, but he still asked Hanju, "So it's you? Long time no see. I'm pursuing a huge opportunity in a mysterious place. Do you want to hear it?" Hanju said, "No." "Greetings, Master." Huang Zuantian knelt down and cupped his fists. Hanju said, "You don't look good. What's wrong? Huang Zuntian was furious. That fellow indeed has ill intentions towards me. He has already possessed my body. However, Master, Controller, he can't control my body without my soul. The Calamity Life Controller had such an effect? As expected of the great Tao Providence Divine Authority, Hanju said, as expected of the person I think the most highly of. Your potential might not be as good as Han Huang's, but cultivation never only depends on potential. Huang Zuntian was immediately excited and hurriedly thanked Hanju for his favor. Hanju's praise was the most important to him. It was even more meaningful than defeating Han Huang. I'll preach the Tao to you now and help you increase the Tao of karma so that you can use it later. How about that? Hanju asked. Of course. Thank you, Master. Hanju didn't say anything else and immediately started to preach. That day, Hanju ended the dream. He had used the rules of time in the dream. It looked like a day, but it had actually been 1,000,000 years. The Tao techniques accumulated over 1,000,000 years were extremely huge, but to the Great Tao Supreme, they were nothing and could easily withstand it. Hanju started to check his emails. Your daughter Hanling has entered the Transcendent Great Tao world and obtained Transcendent Providence. Your descendant Han Yao has entered the Transcendent Great Tao world and obtained Transcendent Providence. Your son Han Huang has entered the Transcendent Great Tao world and obtained Transcendent Providence. Your disciple Tao Sovereign was attacked by a calamity demon, X5920572. Your disciple Zhao Xinyuan. Your disciple Murong Qi was attacked by a calamity demon, X2855777. Your disciple Ji Xianshan has transmigrated to the chaotic future. His providence has transformed. Your daughter Han Qinger was attacked by a mysterious mighty figure and was severely injured. Many people went to the transcendent world. Is the formless transcendent deity poaching from me? Hanju frowned, but something was wrong. Han Ling and Han Huang had both gone there. Perhaps they had reached some agreement? He tried to deduce but failed to find out clearly. He had no choice but to use the derivation function. I want to know why Han Ling went to the Transcendent Great Tao world. 10 trillion years of lifespan will be deducted. Do you want to continue? Continue. Hanju entered the illusion. He opened his eyes to see a blank domain. Han Ling, Han Huang, and the evil heavenly emperor stood in front of a mighty figure. This world, we are willing to open a space inside and allow you to create your Great Tao world. If you are outside, your Great Tao world will be LED to the chaos and eventually be devoured by it. In the transcendent world, at least there will be us blocking it. The formless transcendent deity's tone was indifferent, as if he was talking about something that had nothing to do with him. Hee, isn't this equivalent to giving you our Great Tao world? To catch a turtle in a jar? Han Huang smiled faintly, his tone filled with mockery. The evil heavenly emperor did not speak. He didn't plan to interrupt in this matter. He let Han Huang and Han Ling judge for themselves. The formless transcendent deity replied, every Great Tao world has its own transcendent rule. My transcendent rule is tolerance. Furthermore, the Great Tao world that has already taken form will fuse with the chaos and be destroyed together, turning into an endless era. In other words, the transcendent world will no longer exist in the future. I'm helping you now because I want to give the transcendent world a chance and give hope to all living beings. Han Huang frowned. Han Ling asked, will living beings die if the Great Tao world fuses? Han Ling frowned. In that case, it was not a good time to establish her Great Tao world. You don't have to worry. Your Great Tao world is only in its infancy and can't be considered a Great Tao world at all. Other than being absorbed by the chaos, it won't affect you much. If you can enter the transcendent world, it will help you resist the power of the endless era. The formless transcendent deity continued. Han Huang and Han Ling continued to ask questions. The formless transcendent deity patiently dispelled their concerns. In conclusion, it meant that the formless transcendent deity was prepared to sacrifice himself to help them. He only hoped that they could help the transcendent living beings in the future. In the end, the siblings said that they would consider it. Then, the illusion shattered. Hanju's consciousness returned to reality. He asked in his mind, is the formless transcendent deity sincere? 1 quadrillion years of lifespan will be deducted. Do you want to continue? Continue. Sincere. Hanju finally relaxed. He didn't expect the formless transcendent deity to have such intentions. It seemed that the ninth chaos had really forced him to a dead end. Once the endless era was established, the Tao creators who had been absorbed by the great Tao creators. The formless transcendent deity was different. Transcendent was about to be destroyed. He wanted to contribute to all living beings before the transcendent great Tao world shattered. This Tao creator who transcended everything and was not affected by karma also had human kindness. It was safer to ask. 1 quadrillion years of lifespan will be deducted. Do you want to continue? Continue. Yes. Sigh, poor thing. Wasn't this like survival of the fittest? The ninth chaos had succeeded, but it had sacrificed the future of the other Tao creators. In that case, Hanju wouldn't stop him. He looked at Shawnee. This fellow was still cultivating. It was time for the highlight. 9 consecutive creation heavens chosen. Hanju flashed into the main Taoist temple. He rubbed his hands and stood up to stretch his muscles. He was a Tao creator, so his body naturally would not go stiff. He only wanted a sense of ritual. Sincerity was the key. After some activity, he sat down again, activating the creation heavens chosen. A random great creation will appear among your descendants. Your descendant Han Tian has awakened an innate great creation ghostly evil star. Your descendant Han Sinu has awakened an innate great creation indulgent fantasy star. Your descendant Mo Zong has awakened an innate great creation heavenly blessed star. Your descendant Han Fan has awakened an innate great creation undying fated star. Your descendant Long Minggu has awakened an innate great creation pompous pride star. Your descendant Han Shuangji has awakened an innate great creation ultimate comprehension star. Your descendant Han Zongdao has awakened an innate great creation heavenly speed divine star. Your descendant Han Feng has awakened an innate great creation abyss dark star. Your descendant Han Wuhui has awakened an innate great creation immeasurable absolute star. Hanju looked at the series of messages in front of him. They looked good. He began to check them one by one. The power of these great creations was very suitable for their name. Most of them were descendants of the heavenly Tao's Han family, and there were also Han family bloodlines that wandered outside like Shawnee. Among them, Mo Zong was also related to an old friend. Mo Ju was Hanju's fellow disciple in the Jade Pure Sacred Sect. The two of them shared a relationship. Sage. By chance, she met Mo Zong and deduced his bloodline. Seeing his loneliness, she took him in as her disciple. Hanju didn't say much about this. Mo Ju had been cultivating diligently ever since the Mo family dissipated. At the pseudo-sage realm, she obtained Hanyu's help and successfully attained the Tao. The reason why Hanyu knew Mo Ju was because of Zhou Fan. Zhou Fan had no choice but to escape the heavenly Tao sage because of Mo Fuzhou's request. Mo Ju knew all of this. She didn't use her power because of this. Instead, she kept a low. Accepted happened to encounter Hanju's creation Heaven's Chosen. Hanju sent out 9 clones to find the 9 disciples who had obtained the creation Heaven's Chosen. Heavenly Tao, outside the 33rd heaven. In a quiet corner sat a quiet Tao field. There were only 2 female stone statues in front of. Dressed in a white Taoist robe, Mo Ju sat on a mat made of countless petals. Her face was cold and her temperament was otherworldly. Her black hair fluttered slightly, and a breeze seemed to be circling around her. In the distance, in front of a stone pillar, a blue-robed youth was cultivating a mystical power. He looked to be 15 or 16 years old and had a handsome face. His skin was fairer than ordinary men, looking bloodless. The blue-robed youth was suddenly moved. For some reason, he suddenly felt an endless stream of power surge in his body, transforming his body. This feeling was too wonderful, as if he had broken through a major cultivation realm. Hanju appeared beside the blue-robed youth and smiled. Your mystical power is cultivated like a mortal practicing martial arts. You've let down your talent. The blue-robed youth was shocked and hurriedly jumped away. He asked nervously, "Who are you?" He immediately turned to look at Mo Ju and shouted, "Master, there's an enemy." Mo Ju opened her eyes and was stunned when she saw Hanju. Hanju didn't turn around. Instead, he stared at Mo Zong and smiled. "How about I teach you a mystical power?" Mo Zong gritted his teeth. "No, I have a master." Hanju's expression suddenly turned cold and he said with killing intent, "Can you stop me if I want to kill your master?" A terrifying killing intent locked onto Mo Zong, scaring him so much that he instantly collapsed to the ground. He was covered in sweat as he looked at Hanju in fear. He had never felt such killing intent. Mo Zong was frightened and didn't know what to do upon facing the murderous Hanju. Hanju said coldly, "I'll kill your master now." His eyes narrowed. Mo Zong saw him turn around and attack Mo Ju. The unfathomable Mo Ju in his eyes was directly blown away. "No!" Mo Zong shouted miserably. He suddenly stood up and rushed towards Hanju. Just as he stood up, he was imprisoned by an invisible force and was unable to move. Mo Zong looked at him with bloodshot eyes. His eyes were filled with hatred and killing intent. "Stop teasing him. He's just a kid." Mo Ju's voice suddenly floated over. Mo Zong subconsciously glanced over. Mo Ju, who had just been reduced to ashes, had appeared again and was walking towards them. Looking at Hanju again, the coldness on his face disappeared and was replaced by a refreshing smile. Coupled with his extremely handsome face, even Mo Zong was a little absent-minded. "What's happening?" Mo Zong asked in a puzzled tone upon sensing that the powerful force binding him had disappeared. No matter how stupid he was, he could tell that Hanju was not an enemy. He was teasing him just now. Mo Ju walked to Hanju's side and asked, "Are you here for him?" Hanju smiled and nodded. Mo Ju looked at Mo Zhou and said, "Hurry up and kneel down to acknowledge your ancestor." Ancestor? Mo Zong was stunned. He naturally believed his master's words, so he knelt down and kowtowed to Hanju. Hanju looked at him and asked, "How have you been all these years?" The two of them looked at each other in silence. The past floated before their eyes. Hanju no longer cared about their past, but to Emoju, the memories were vivid. Along the way, she could be said to have listened to Hanju's legendary deeds as she cultivated. She felt regret and helplessness, and then gradually became determined. Hanju didn't object to Emoju choosing her. Family back then. Everyone had their own choices. He had never wanted everyone to revolve around him. Hanju looked at Emozong and asked, "Do you feel the power in your body?" Emozong asked in surprise, "Could this power be your?" He could tell that this ancestor in front of him had a close relationship with his master. Could it be because of this relationship that his master accepted him? Emozong had mixed emotions. Hanju smiled. "It's good that you understand. You don't have to say it." Emozong was silent. Hanju smiled and said, "I'll stay here and teach you for a period of time." He looked at Emoju. Emoju hurriedly said, "You can stay if you want." She became nervous. This emotion had not appeared for more than 100 million years. It was so long that she almost forgot that she was also alone. Just like that, Hanju's clone stayed. The other 8 clones were the same. They didn't directly save the other 8 descendants of the creation heavens chosen, but gave them a process of acceptance. Hanju's main body returned to the third Taoist temple. After some time, I'll bring back 9 descendants who can be considered your juniors. You'll have to take care of them. Shawnee opened his eyes. He asked carefully, "Could it be that they were also?" Hanju nodded. Shawnee became even more nervous. It be that the progenitor was dissatisfied with his cultivation progress? Hanju said, "You don't have to think too much. There will be more in the future. I can't only nurture you. I'll do this every once in a while. You'll also build good karma if you can teach them and take care of them." Shawnee felt that it made sense and immediately agreed. 100 years later, Hanju's 9 clones returned with 9 descendants. Not only them but even Emoju was brought back and stayed in the third Tao field. Upon seeing Emoju, Xing Hongshen, Fairy Xishan, and Chang Yuer were all overjoyed. Time had passed, and it was not easy to meet an old friend. Inside the Taoist temple, the 9 descendants of the Han family meditated side by side and looked at Hanju in admiration. This name was the supreme word of the heavenly Tao. They didn't know about the ancestor and Pango until the divine might heavenly sage was the guardian of the heavenly Tao. They didn't expect their progenitor to have such a background. Shawnee looked at the 9 new faces and sighed. He seemed to see 9 unparalleled mighty figures about to rise. Although these guys looked young, he could sense the mysterious power in their bodies and their limitless potential. "I'll give you great opportunities and allow you to be reborn. What you have to do is cultivate here well. You are not allowed to leave without my permission. You might have to spend." Cultivation levels of the 9 great creation cultivators all soared. In the end, Hanju appointed Han Zhongdao, who cultivated the fastest, as the leader. He gave them the name 9 Divine Stars, and they would only serve him in the future. Hanju began to cultivate in seclusion. Shani left the Taoist temple with the 9 divine stars and they started to get to know each other. The 9 divine stars all wanted to know Hanju's deeds. Shawnee didn't hide anything from them and even mentioned the other mighty figures of the Han family. The more Shawnee talked about them, the more excited they became. The 9 divine stars also felt their blood boil. They all targeted Han Huang and also wanted to be invincible in the chaos. On the other side, as more and more chaotic factions joined the transcendent Great Tao world, the consciousnessless Great Tao world and the Shurtian Great Tao world also began to imitate it. For a time, the entire chaos swayed. All living beings were worried that the chaos would be eaten. At this moment, an eternal peak appeared and wanted to unify the chaos. Assembly, Zhao Shuangquan. Zhao Shuangquan left the heavenly Tao and established the 9 extremes orthodoxy alone. He first absorbed countless geniuses and began to expand his domain. He used the excuse of resisting the 3 Great Tao worlds to unify them, causing countless experts to seek refuge. The ultimate god of punishment did not stop him, causing the Great Tao divine spirits to secretly wonder. The leader of the divine spirits had said that there was no need to unite the chaos, so Zhao Shuangquan's actions were equivalent to a slap in the face. However, the ultimate god of punishment did not say anything, and the Great Tao divine spirits did not dare to act recklessly. Zhao Shuangquan had already grown up and was also a divine punisher. His status surpassed most Great Tao divine spirits. 10 million years passed quickly. Hanju reached 160 million years old and obtained a creation heavens chosen. The chaotic assembly was about to begin when the chaos became chaotic again. The geniuses of the other Great Tao worlds would participate this time. It was known as an unprecedented chaotic assembly. Its foundation and difficulties far exceeded previous ones,